it's one can say that there's a great chance that an arrest never would have been made. I think about all the other cases um, that never reached gotten any attention. And I'm not sure. I believe it might. I'm not sure. So I won't say which state it was in, but I know there was another case that after this case came out around social media, there was a case where police went into the wrong house of an individual where a gentleman and his girlfriend just basically lay in bed. They kicked the door in. It was the wrong house. The gentleman thought that he was being robbed. He pulled out his weapon to defend himself, and the police shot and killed his girlfriend. Had not received any media attention whatsoever. But because of this case, people kind of were tagging on, well, hey, well, not only this bad, let me tell you about this other case. And now, through social media attention, they're taking a revisit and a relook at this case as well. As a matter of fact, the judge in the case actually, because they actually arrested the boyfriend who was in bed for the death of his girlfriend who was shot by the police. But the judge actually allowed him to be released from jail on his own recognizance. He couldn't dismiss the charges, but he at least looked at the situation and evaluated and said that this man does not need to be in jail, that obviously he has to wait for his day in court, but he does not need to be in jail to wait for that day to come. So you have to look at, with the positive aspects of these things, with videos going viral, so to speak, that so it can gain the attention to put pressure on the individuals that can make the decisions so justice can be brought.
Right.
April, I also want to say, the AME Church and the leadership on the state level, I think it's Bishop Jackson, I think is his name, Bishop James. He's been fighting for the last 2 years trying to get a hate crime bill here in Georgia. And it has been, and he's been fighting extremely hard and has been getting little traction on it because for some reason people on the conservative side of the state feels that that's not necessary. And when you have acts like this going on in Brunswick, Georgia, how can you say that that's not necessary? How can you say we do not need that? But to Attorney Jackson's point, had this video not surfaced, I truly and deeply believe we would still be in force-fed that false narrative from the beginning that those gentlemen were heroes and they stopped the robbery in action. It was that video that forced the DAs of Brunswick and Waycross to eat their own words, because now America saw with their own eyes that they had been lied to by officials that were elected. Go ahead, Ms. Page.
No, I was just going to say this whole thing, if we had not had people being able to video, having their phones and being able to make videos, we wouldn't even ever had the Black Lives Matter movement or anything else, because all this stuff is not new. It's been going on and on and on from time way on back. It's all been covered up. And now because people have a way of videoing it and showing it to the world, people can't cover it up anymore. All this stuff going on like this hasn't just started up. White people have been doing these kinds of things, and police officers have been doing these kind of things from way back when. I can remember my daddy telling me that all the policemen used to carry he wasn't a policeman, but he was friends with a lot of policemen. He said they all carried an extra gun in their car. So in case they shot somebody, they could put it in that gun in his hand and claim it self-defense. Those things have been going on forever and covering up. That's always been there, but people have been able to cover it up, and now they can't, because now people are taking pictures and it can't be covered up. And I say, hallelujah. Some things in technology and social media, I think, I don't like that. But that's one thing that has brought justice because now people have, if they've got eyes, they're seeing it, and that's making the difference.
And the video was initially leaked as some form of defense for the shooters. Their attorney released the video because he thought that it was going to really vindicate them and show that they had done nothing wrong in this situation.
Did you see that interview on CNN with the attorney and Roddy, this man talking? That attorney made a fool of himself, but he said, but then he was then trying to pretend like he released it for Roddy to show that Roddy was trying to show what happened, as if Roddy was being the good guy, showing that these other guys had messed up. I don't know. He wouldn't let Roddy speak up. He was saying, oh no, he doesn't he just has a high school education. It's like as if you can't speak up with a high school education, you sure can. But it was a mess. The attorney, it was terrible. But yes, he released it thinking it would help his client, and I guess he thought it would help the other guys too. But he messed up. He released it.
Well, Attorney Jackson, you masterfully dissected the argument of citizen's arrest. You did the same thing for self-defense. We know he did not have a weapon. We know that at least one gentleman on top of the bed of the truck and another one standing behind the truck had their weapons pointed at him initially. From him running up and having guns pointed at him at that point, was that not already aggravated assault?
I believe the question, was it already aggravated assault? Yes, it was. When you point a firearm and you put the receiver in the expectation of fearing in aggravated assault without even pulling the trigger. So a lot of people think that you have to be actually struck by the bullet or cut by the knife or hit by the bat or whatever the object may be for it to be aggravated assault. But yes, Attorney Breach, you're correct. Once they pointed that weapon at him without just cause, the aggravated assault had been committed. So once that aggravated assault has been committed, they can, whatever happens after that fact, the law says you cannot come back and claim self-defense because you were the initial aggressor without just cause. And I'm sure one may try to argue, well, they pointed a weapon because they were making a citizen's arrest, but no, there was no citizen's arrest, meaning so when they pointed a weapon, no just cause, no citizen's arrest, you have aggravated assault.
Which makes the DAs, those two DAs from Brunswick and Waycross, which makes their original theory and conclusion of what happened just, the most egregious level of tomfoolery I have ever heard. Because this man already had a crime committed against him as he was jogging down the road. And Ms. Page, maybe you can enlighten us on this. How far was it between where they was parked in the road and where this alleged house was that they quote unquote say he was breaking and entering, even though it was being built and didn't even have walls in some areas?
Well, I went out there and I didn't see that house right there, but this is a whole little neighborhood there. So it could have been, he went, they were chasing him for some time. They chased him one way and he tried to go back the other way, and then they headed him off, one behind him. He was pinned in there. The Roddy guy was behind him. He was
I asked you that to Attorney Jackson's point earlier, and I just want Attorney Jackson to reiterate that when it comes to a citizen arrest, especially if you're claiming something like a felony, Attorney Jackson, isn't it true that the citizens have to witness it themselves?
Yes, the statute, as I mentioned earlier, OCGA 17-4-60 says the crime has to be committed in the person's presence.
Right.
So they would have had to see him commit a crime first to then try to make a citizen's arrest.
And
then
they
there's
didn't even
also a
say
second
that.
element.
Yeah.
And one of the second elements is that they have to be escaping or attempting to escape. So even if you see a person committing a crime, even unless that person is escaping, you still can't make a citizen's arrest. Only you see it, it's a felony, not a misdemeanor. You have to see it, it's a felony, they have to be escaping, and it has to be reasonable and probable grounds. And they did not meet any of those elements whatsoever to even be able to try to claim a citizen's arrest.
And they didn't even say they saw him do anything. They said that what they said was, told the police was, he fits the description. How many times have you heard that? Mm-hmm. He fits the description of someone that had been doing some stuff in the neighborhood. And really, there hadn't been anything going on in the neighborhood except for somebody had, I think, had stolen a gun out of their vehicle or something a while back, but they didn't see it happen.
Exactly, and that creates the problem.
Well, they always say all blacks look alike. So, what is fitting the description? Because he was a black man.
He was a black man.
That made him fit the description.
Yeah, that made him fit the description.
Well, even if he was fitting the description, they're outside of the bounds of the citizen arrest law.
Yeah. That's right.
Because if they're looking for a description, then that means they didn't see the crime. Because if they saw the crime, they wouldn't need a description. They would have had their eyes on the quote unquote perpetrator.
That is a great point. That is. I would hope that's one of the main, as you pointed out, Attorney Reese. I would hope that whoever's prosecuting this case, that would be one of their main arguments. Mm-hmm. That if by them saying he fits the description, basically by that mere fact shows that they could not be making a citizen's arrest because they did not witness that him commit a crime. That fact of it alone, that is one of the most important keys that you just mentioned. That by that mere statement shows that the citizen's arrest is void. Period. But one of the things too that I want to point out is far as when you're dealing with descriptions, I know Ms. Smith and we've talked about before off camera and everything before this broadcast is what do you do when you're raising a young black man? How do you one of the things that my mother always we used to battle about when I was a teenager. She'd say, where you going? What are you doing? When you coming home? And she and I used to say, why are you so worried? And she used to tell me that you will not understand what goes through my mind and through my heart until you have a child of your own. Right. You won't understand. And now raising two young men, I understand because unfortunately, you have to actually teach your children, especially young men, how to respond in a situation such as this, how to explain to them. How do you explain to a young man that just by walking down the street, you're a suspect? Just by jogging down the street, you may be a suspect. Just by riding in the car, minding your own business, you may fit the description of a suspect. Yes. And how to track that you actually have to have a conversation where other families and other races don't have to have that conversation. Right. I have to actually, talk to my young men about what do you do when you're pulled over by law enforcement, how you have to let all the windows down, no matter, I don't care if it's the snow is blowing and it's 20 degrees below freezing. You let all your